Hi, and congratulations on completing week 6, Christology and Overview of the Work of Christ. Now, we had 3 goals this week, and I think, well, first of all, happy Thanksgiving again. I hope you had a great break. I want to say thank you to all of you for really budgeting your time between work and family this week. I really appreciate that. And I'm now also back in Antigua after spending a week with my daughter, my son-in-law, and one of my best friends, where we were able to also watch a bit of football, a little football, and eat a lot of turkey. But it was great to be back in the U.S. and also great to be back here in Antigua. But with that, moving on to Christ, our goals this week were to demonstrate comprehension of the historical debates about method in Christological and Christology and articulate a personal conviction on this debate. Second, to define an orthodox understanding of the person of Christ and identify heretical Christologies. And then finally, to examine the overall work of Christ. So we had 2 assignments and a discussion post. So for assignment 6.1, in 2 to 3 pages, describe the debate about Christological method as presented in Erickson chapter 30. And you were to integrate the additional reading of McKnight and Bird, and then to quickly summarize key areas of disagreement in the debate and describe your own personal proposal for the best and most fruitful methodology for learning about Jesus. And I think that on whole, folks did a really good job on this assignment. It was a nice, tangible debate that you get to look at Erickson and then McKnight and Bird. I think folks summarized that really well. As always, the central key to assignments for me is to look at biblical support for your argument and academic support for your argument. And here it was to look at the areas of disagreement between Erickson and McKnight. And so where folks lost some points is when they summarized each but didn't really engage both authors or both assignments, and then argue their own position, giving biblical and academic support beyond Erickson and McKnight. So for the most part, scores here were really high, but in a couple of areas, I felt folks needed to dig a little deeper and add a bit more support. In assignment 6.2, you're asked by a church member. So the goal of the assignment was actually to give a little more conversational tone by responding to a church member. And another key in that second bullet point is the Jesus seminar. So I was looking right off the bat. Did you have a conversational tone where you're arguing a position? And are you making sure to summarize what does this Jesus seminar mean? And then to look through heretical as well as orthodox views of Jesus over the course of time. So those were some of the first keys I was looking for. And then in 2 to 3 pages, briefly describe an evangelical understanding of Jesus' person and provide a defense of the deity and humanity of Christ. And this is such a deep discussion as to in what ways is Christ divine, and in other ways is he human. And to do that, you needed to give me biblical support for each aspect of the nature of Christ. And then you needed to explain the arguments from Erickson or others as to how does that really get unpacked in an evangelical understanding. Again, folks did a good job on this assignment. If there were points taken off, likely they were for not having enough biblical or academic support. And then finally, we had a couple different options on the discussion post, and I thought folks really thrived here. So in the early church, the deity of Jesus was accepted and the humanity questioned, which is really your assignment in 6.2. In the modern area, it's kind of been the opposite, where Jesus' humanity has been generally accepted, but his deity questioned. And so you were supposed to unpack over the course of time, how has this argument changed and been shaped? So I wanted to see a historical perspective on how the argument has changed, and then what is the current church position that you believe best fits both our modern context and the Bible. Option 2, which I think was actually a little more done, most Christians and churches focus almost exclusively on the death of Christ, but what about the work of Christ? And I think folks, for the most part, followed Erickson's arguments, and that was fine. And then you gave a broader understanding of the work of Christ. Folks didn't go into the miracle ministry of Jesus quite so much, staying closer to what Erickson argued. But I think people did a very good job. Again, if there were points taken off, it was for lack of depth and the ability to dive into both the biblical and the academic research. But on whole, we had a lot of A's, some B's, only a couple C's on this assignment, and I think people did a very good job. Finally, we're coming to the end of the course. Be sure to complete your course survey, and as always, feel free to call or email me with any questions. Have a great week, and I look forward to reading your Week 7 assignments.